Hello, gorgeous, and welcome in. My name is Elizabeth Rose, and this is a space for women learning to trust their bodies, their emotions, and their inner guidance more deeply. Each week, I share reflections and tools on embodiment and self leadership, feminine rhythm, healing, all things that help us move from awareness to integration. This week, specifically, I want to talk about cycle syncing because it has changed my life. It has changed the way that I relate to my nutrition, my exercise, my energy, all the things, the way that I relate to my body, my relationships. And I'm super excited to get into this with you guys. So, this is something that I had to learn more deeply after I realized that emotional healing wasn't enough to heal my cramps. For the better part of my life, I have experienced excruciating pain during my menstrual phase. And I have been on a journey of healing that the last few years. I've actually been abstinent for over 4 years, healing my womb. However, I was in Brazil last year and I experienced healing on a deeper level. And that's what I want to share with you guys. Um, so wherever you're joining from, if you're on the live or the replay, I would love to hear your comments. You can sit back and relax, listen, reflect, or share your experience as well. You are more than welcome to do that. So let's get into it. For most of my life, I thought that something was wrong with me. Nobody ever told me that the female body wasn't wired to feel the same way every day. Then I learned about cycle syncing and I realized that there was a feminine rhythm that I just needed to get in touch with. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Just scrolling through my notes here. So I used to think that consistency meant showing up the same way every day, feeling the same way every day, expressing myself the same way every day. But the female body doesn't actually work like that. And cycle syncing helped me shift into a space of compassion for my body. It helped me shift into a space of realizing that my changing energy and my cramps, these weren't problems, they were information that my body was relaying to me, and it was my job to start to listen. So what I've realized is cycle syncing is really a way um, for me to let my feminine energy move, but allow my masculine energy to guide it. So I talk about wholeness on this channel a lot, and how to integrate that masculine and feminine energy. So this is going to be no different. Cycle syncing is letting my feminine energy flow while my masculine energy creates structure for it. So our bodies already have a rhythm. Cycle syncing is really just about learning how to listen to that rhythm. I personally realized that consistency for the feminine isn't about showing up every day. It's about that relationship with rhythm. So I mentioned that this relationship with my womb healing deepened in Brazil. So I'm going to get into that a little bit deeper. So last year, I had a trip planned for Brazil. And my moon, which is what I call my period, my moon was actually 2 weeks late for this trip. Okay. Spiritually speaking, right on time though. My bleed showed up the first day that I arrived in Brazil. My plan was to sit with the Hunikuin in ceremony, right? So I was in this beautiful retreat center, and all of the feminine space holders that actually lived on the land told me that it was such a blessing for me to be on my moon during this time because when we're on our moon, we're actually more open, we're more susceptible to listening to spirit. And this ended up being my experience. So, um, a few hours before the ceremony started, I began to cramp, and my intuition told me not to take ibuprofen. Generally, that's what I would do. I would just numb myself out and push through. But this time was different. So during that ceremony, I ended up doing a lot of womb healing just by tending to my womb space, holding my womb space, listening, crying, moving, just being in relationship with my moon, holding space for my womb center. And this was really powerful. I was also able to partake in a ritual that the locals partook in every single month. There was this beautiful tree on the property that the local women would plant their moon under every single month. So they would literally plant their period blood under this tree. And it was a way for them to connect with Mother Earth and to receive her care and blessings throughout the month so that the Mother Earth would know what they need. So, um, coming back to the States, I continued both of these practices. I continued planting my moon and I also continued holding space for my womb. I actually promised myself that I would never take ibuprofen again and silence her. Um, this worked for a few months. For a few months, I actually did experience some relief coming back from Brazil. However, my cramps started to get worse. So, and I thought that I was doing something wrong, right? I would shame myself when I would miss doing a yoni steam or if I wasn't able to be still during my period. It started to turn into me judging myself, honestly. So I started to dig into this deeper, right? And I seen a healer, and she actually told me that my body was asking for hormone healing. And she asked me, had I ever heard of seeding? I told her no, that I had never heard of seeding before. And after doing some research, I found cycle syncing. This completely changed my life because I had never heard of cycle syncing before. And I work with mentors, none of them were talking about it. Even the healer didn't mention cycle syncing, just seeding, which is equally powerful, by the way. It's definitely a ritual that I use in my cycle syncing practices. So, what I ended up realizing is I didn't need more discipline. I actually needed permission to flow through these different phases of the month. I needed permission to show up differently every day and to care for myself every single day. And nobody ever taught me that. I don't know about you, but nobody ever taught me about hormone healing or womb health or um, being a woman, honestly. I remember in college learning about the reproductive system and learning about ovulation happening every month and my body releasing an egg. And nobody had ever even mentioned that to me until college. Um, so this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart because I know that there's a gap here, and most women just don't have the knowledge that they need to care for themselves in the most loving ways. And cycle syncing helped me to stop fighting my body. It helped me get back into rhythm with my natural feminine energy. And that's what I'm going to get into today. I'm so excited to share this framework with you. So let's get into that. Mm-mm. So, this is what I like to call the four phases of feminine energy through the month. So I'm going to tell you what the four phases are, and then I'm going to get into each one a little bit deeper. So if you have any questions or if anything resonates, please go ahead and comment in the chat box. I would love to conversate with you guys. Mm-mm-mm. So the first phase is our menstrual phase. This is considered our personal winter. The second phase is our follicular phase, and this is considered our personal spring. The third phase is ovulatory, and this is considered our summer. And then we have our fourth phase, the luteal phase, and this one is considered our autumn phase. So now I'm going to get into them a little bit deeper, starting with menstrual. So during our menstrual phase, this is our inward phase. This is where our bodies are asking for more rest, reflection, and truth. Um, we are more prone to warmth. This is where we should be using heating pads and taking hot baths and really just focusing on making the body comfortable. Our estrogen and our testosterone are at their lowest here. So we're very like emotionally porous, and we usually just want to be with ourselves in this space. So this is where I used to numb out. Let me just move my notes over. This is where I used to numb out and push through, completely abandoning and rejecting my feminine energy. Okay. What I didn't realize is that the rest of the phases leading up to the menstrual phase actually set us up for our experience during our bleed. Mm. So, the cause of cramping actually starts in follicular, which is the phase right after our bleed. Um, like moving into our spring season. So I used to feel hopeless here. I used to feel like um, I couldn't do anything during this phase. I used to hate having my period. Literally, I would overdose on ibuprofen. And I didn't realize that this phase was about releasing what was no longer working for me during the month, releasing all of the emotions that I wasn't able to process, releasing all of the hormone buildup, literally, my body resetting itself. So, also, when I was in Brazil, I learned that cramping isn't actually normal. Although most of the women I know do experience cramping, it's not the most healthy expression of that release. And if we actually eat specific foods throughout the month, when we're in different phases, and um, when we do different movements throughout our different phases, we can actually support our body in reducing inflammation and releasing some of that built up estrogen from our body so that we don't actually experience cramps. So that's my goal here with this cycle syncing. And I'm already seeing progress, and it's only been a few months. So let's see. Um, So our next phase is our follicular phase, our spring phase. This is the phase after our bleed. I actually consider follicular our first phase. However, in Western medicine, our menstrual is considered our first phase because it's easier to track day one of our bleed than day one of our follicular. So, for the purposes of this video, I'm putting it as phase two, but I actually believe that follicular is phase one. It's the starting point. This is when our ideas return, our curiosity returns, hope returns. Our estrogen starts to rise again, and we feel it in our energy. We feel more creative. It's a beautiful time to start things. Let's see. Our bodies are basically like slowly moving out of winter and waking up, right? However, if we aren't eating the right foods here, then we aren't properly caring for our hormones, then we aren't actually supporting our body for our bleed. If we're not eating the right foods and helping our body release the built up estrogen, then that estrogen is recycled in our system and it creates a thicker lining in our uterine wall, which causes cramps in menstrual. So, I didn't know any of this. This is all from research and from my own experience. So, just disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional. I'm actually a designer by day. But I'm super passionate about this subject and and I hope that you are too. So, after follicular comes our ovulatory phase, and this is considered our summer phase. This is our connection phase. This is when we feel most alive and driven. Our estrogen and our testosterone are at their highest here. We feel beautiful and open, and we want the world to see us. This is actually when going live on YouTube feels the most comfortable for a woman. Mm-mm-mm. Our bodies are open to lighter and more colder food here, and we're actually more able to partake in stronger workouts. They feel better for our body as opposed to other phases of our cycle, when we should be more focused inward and releasing emotions and things like that. Our follicular phase is like high energy, or is rising energy, and then our ovulatory phase is highest energy. Okay. So then after our ovulatory phase, we start to move down into our luteal phase. Excuse me. Let me get some of my tea. Just opening up that throat chakra a little bit. Talk about embodiment work, right? Live right here on YouTube. So, last note that I have here in ovulatory is that this is where we're meant to play, right? Okay, so then moving back down into luteal phase, which is considered our autumn phase. This is our editing phase. Not moody, but clear, right? So our bodies start to show us what is not aligned here. And that's powerful. This phase gets a really bad rep. Most people consider it that PMS, right? The premenstrual syndrome, where the boyfriend thinks that we're being too emotional, right? Kick him to the curb, by the way. So yes, this is the phase where our emotions start to feel more clear. Our body starts to show us what is not aligned. Our estrogen is dropping, and our bodies are preparing itself to release, right? So Physically, we are meant to focus on blood building here, um, and warm foods, higher carbohydrates, things like of that nature. We're literally preparing our bodies to release. I'm curious. So, what happens when you let yourself feel in this phase? What happens when you listen to your emotions instead of attempting to repress them or ignore them? I know for me personally, when I get really, really honest here and allow myself to feel and release what I'm meant to release during my menstrual phase, that my rise feels so much more sovereign. I feel so clear. I feel so open. I feel so alive. So I just want you to ask yourself, what would it feel like to let yourself feel in this phase? To not judge yourself for what's arising, but to be really grateful for what you're being shown. So, those are the 4 phases, and within each phase, our movement and our energy and our nutrition should look different. And I think that that's the key thing that I didn't realize was that I am a 4-phase woman, okay? Throughout 28 days, I am on a cyclical rhythm, okay? And when I work with my body, I set myself up for health in my menstrual space. Each phase relates to another. Women are a beautifully cyclical being, and each phase has powerful gifts for us if only we learn to listen. Because what I've learned is cycle syncing isn't about doing less, but it's about doing the right things at the right time. And this really is how our masculine energy supports our feminine energy. This is how we come into a beautiful inner union with our womb health. Listening to what arises and taking care of that part of us. It's that beautiful mesh of feminine and masculine energy working together. Just scrolling through my notes here to see if there's anything else I wanted to say. So, yes, I would say that my key takeaway from this video is that our rhythm isn't something to fix, it's something to trust. And cycle syncing taught me that nothing was wrong with my energy. I was just misinformed, right? I just didn't have the correct tools. And now I do. So I would normally open this space up for reflections, chat, questions, things of that nature, but nobody's here with me live. But if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and put any questions in the chat that you might have. I read them all and I would love to connect with you. So, I also wanted to mention that if you would like to learn more, I have actually created a 28-day womb centered nourishment booklet that helps you identify the specific movements and nutrition that would be helpful during each phase. So if you would like to feel into that, I would love to share it with you. Just go ahead and email me at elizabethrosecommunity@gmail.com and I will send that over to you. So just remember, ladies, that our bodies know its rhythm. We don't have to force consistency to be powerful. We just need to slow down and listen. Mm-mm. And again, I share these reflections each week for women learning to trust themselves. So I hope to see you in the next one. I love you so much.